When drawing the human head, the mouth area is probably one of the easiest parts to draw because it is a simple volume in comparison to almost everything else. But there are still a couple of things that we really need to pay attention to. So we are going to take a look at first the mouth's anatomy and kind of the different shapes that make up the entire volume of the mouth area. And also, after that, we are going to take a look at how to simplify it in the most, in the simplest way, so that we are able to draw it in any angle on the faces that we've drawn so far. So the same process that we did for the nose. Now, first, if we take a look at the anatomy of the mouth, so it's no surprise with all the different movements that are involved with the mouth that it is pretty heavy in terms of muscles. So there's muscles essentially pulling in every direction around the mouth, but there are only a few that we are interested in that actually influence the shape of the mouth. And those are going to be these two right here. So we'll have, well, actually the node one is not really a muscle. It's more like a point, a connection point. But the orbicularis oris is the one that is wrapping around the mouth and around the lips. And this is the one that is going to allow us to whistle or to create the O shape with our mouth. And it's interesting because it wraps around the entire mouth opening and definitely gives volume to the area. And now the node is particularly interesting in when it comes to the corner of the mouth right here. So we can see it a little bit better here, but the shape, the switch of highlight from kind of a mid gray to a lighter gray right here, if you can see here, if we can see this. So it's as if there's like a small dent right here before the lip comes out again. So this is caused by the node and the fact that the orbicularis oris is tucked in under the node when it meets at the corner of the eye, at the corner of the mouth right there. So this section here overlaps this part of the orbicularis oris, and as a result, it creates this thing that we can almost see here as well. So there's always a little bit of shadow here. You can see it as well here, with the lip always sticking out a little bit more than this section right here. Not so visible on this one, maybe just a little bit here. So this is what this is going to affect. It's going to be the corner of the mouth here. We're always going to have, especially when it pinches, we're always going to have a very, very slight shadow in this area. And then we'll have this part here catch the light a little bit more than this part back here because of the node. I'm exaggerating it on this side here, but you can see it does almost the same thing on the other side. It's just much more subtle. But this is what this node does essentially to the corner of the mouth. So the next thing that's pretty important when it comes to the shape of the mouth that we need to note is that it's not flat. It's definitely not flat. If we look at it from the side here, we have the teeth wrapping around in kind of a really circular fashion, and as a result, the lip kind of follow the same path, the same curve around the teeth. So what this is going to give us is this circular shape, this like sphere, this ball in this area right there. And this ball can actually be placed pretty accurately with the bottom of the ball kind of placed at the top of the chin right here, and the top of the ball somewhere in the, around the center of the nose cavity. So you can create a nice round ball like this, and this is going to be the mouth sphere. And we are actually going to use that to draw the mouth a little bit later. And that ball shape here is in part created by the orbicularis oris in the way that it's shaped, in the way that the muscle is shaped around the lips. All right, and next, let's take a look at the 5 segments of the lips. So those will be those 5 right here. So we're going to start with the one in the center, the most important. It is going to be called the upper lip break. So this is going to be shaped kind of like a heart, and it's always going to be sticking out a little bit more in comparison to the sides of the lips right here. So the sides of the upper lip. And below, we're going to have the lower lip split in half with the kind of like the crack in the center called the groove of the lower lip. So this is going to be present on almost everybody to some degree. So we can see it here and just how the highlights shifts because there's a small dent right here. And here it's a little bit visible as well right there. And this one, not so much. But for most people, we'll be able to see it a little bit at least. And it's very, very visible in this case here for this one right there. And then we'll have this region up here, which is called the philtrum, the little cavity, not really cavity, but the little dip at right above the upper lip, right above the upper lip break. And finally, the other section that is worth mentioning are the pillars of the mouth, and that is going to be those things right here, those shapes right there. So as you can see, right below the lower lip, it digs in pretty deep here to meet the chin, to meet the upper part of the chin. But on the sides here, the slope is a little bit more relaxed. So in here, it's pretty intense, it goes like this, but on the side, it's a much softer curve. And this is going to be called the pillar of the mouth. So we'll have this more pronounced in men generally, but you'll see it right here. And the top of the chin is often going to help kind of limit, emphasize these pillars right here. All right, so that's it for the different regions of the mouth. Now let's take a look at how to simplify the lips as much as possible. To get ourselves ready, what we're going to do is I'm going to start on this one right here, and we're going to split this in thirds again, just like we did on this one right there. And what we're going to add is this right here, this sphere for the mouth. So it is going to start, like I said, right here at the top of the chin, and it's going to end right about the center of the nose right here. So right about this line right there. So it doesn't have to be super precise, but what we want with this is to make sure that it is a nice round ball so that it sticks out a little bit. All right, and it will look something like this. So now the sphere gives us a number of things, a number of landmarks that are pretty important. So it is going to give us the pillars of the mouth. So we're going to have a starting point for this. So we know that it starts at the chin right here, but the sphere is also going to indicate kind of like the width of the pillars. So we know that those pillars could go something like this. And from the side view, it's also going to give us the angle of the mouth. So the mouth is not straight, like I said, it's a circle. So now we have a sphere. So I'm going to draw just like that in thirds. So very similar to what we did for the head right here. So I'm going to do the same thing for the sphere. And the lower portion right there, this is going to be kind of like the line for the mouth. So it's going to wrap around the sphere. And from the front view, well, it's not going to be that visible because it's the front view, so it's going to appear like a straight line. But from an angle like this, we would definitely see it. So that sphere right there, that's going to be the simplified mouth. So we're not gonna draw a box or anything like that for the mouth. That is going to be it. So it's going to be this sphere, and the line of the mouth is going to go on that sphere. And so the line should be something like this. So we're going to start with a straight line, at least from the front view, like this. In this case, well, it's just going to follow this line right there. So that would be the equivalent of the straight line from this angle. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to get back these different regions here, these different segments for the lip. So we know that the bottom lip is split in half. So we're going to have a little bit of a dent like this. And it's going to start, the lip is going to end, not start, it's going to end a little bit higher than the top of the chin, so right about there. And then it's going to be mostly straight, and then wrap up all the way to the sides like this. And then for the top of the lips, we're going to start them again kind of like at the halfway point between the center of the mouth, between the mouth opening and the nostrils. So right about in the center, right there. It can be higher, it can be lower, depending on how big the lips are. But a center point, something like this, maybe a little bit lower, would be perfect. So what we're going to do here is we're going to mimic that shape that we just did here, but up there, like this. So another curve up here, and this is going to indicate where the philtrum is, and that's just going to go back towards the nostril like this. And now what we can do with this is we can start to trace the little heart shape that for the upper lip break, and from there just connect the dot from the side of the mouth, the corner of the mouth right here, all the way to the top of the heart shape. And we would have some lips essentially. So now we can erase kind of like the guides that we use for that. And we can add in a little bit of a curve. So at the side here, at the end, towards the corner of the mouth, the upper lip is always going to lay on top of it a little bit, just like that. So we'll have this nice curve like this. So for the front view, that'd be how you draw the lips. So then now what we're going to do is we're going to accentuate the pillars a little bit. So maybe soften them a little bit and make them a little bit lower like this, because the pillars are muscles but also fat tissue, so you'll see those a little bit more visible in older people. And then the line for the chin right there is basically the opposite of the lips that we have right here, so it's going to be kind of like that. Then when it starts to curve up, then we're going to curve down instead. And then all of this here is going to be in the shades. It's not going to catch the light if the light's coming from the top. And it's going to be the same thing for the upper lip. So the upper lip is going to be in the same kind of angle as this portion here right under the lower lip. We can see here. So if there's light coming from the top, this portion here is going to get lit. This portion here, which is the upper lip, is not going to get lit. The lower lip is going to get lit, but the bottom of the pillar is not going to get lit. So we have kind of like this staircase effect for light, and this means that we're going to get light here, we're not going to get light here. We're going to get light on the lip, on the lower lip, we're not going to get light on the upper lip, or at least not much. So there we go. So now this indicates the volumes a lot better already. In the corner of the mouth right here, as we've seen in most cases here, we will have the lower lip kind of go in. So we'll go inside the shape like this, go in, while this top portion right there is going to lay on top because, again, of the node right here. So we have the lower lip going in and the node kind of coming on top of that. So what this gives us is, well, kind of a line like this. So it'll be like this at the tip, at the end of the mouth. And then we'll have kind of like shadow on top here and light at the bottom here. So that's something that we can replicate here. So again, it curves down a little bit at the corner of the mouth, just like that. All right, and then finally, we're going to do the same thing on this model right here. So again, we start by drawing kind of like the center right here. So the center of the sphere is not going to be this line right there. So that was the symmetry for the face, but now we drew a sphere on top. So what we're going to do is find the center for the sphere. And as you can imagine here, we have a smaller sphere like this, in comparison to the big one that we used here. But since it's facing the same direction, we can use the same kind of oval that we had for this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to find kind of like the parallel like this. So that sphere is going to be parallel like this. And then from there, I am going to draw the same kind of ovals. So just try to copy what you have right there. And that's going to be what we use for the center. Right there. Make sure that we have a similar curve. So something like this. And something like this. Looks similar enough, works for me. All right, so now that we have that, we're going to be able to place the the center of the mouth, so the upper lip break, and also the groove of the lower lip right on that line, so like a little V like this. And then from there, we're going to do the same thing for the upper lip, so as the same V, but this is going to give us the philtrum. So there we go, now we can connect the line. And the philtrum just goes to the center of the nose right there. And now we can trace kind of like the upper lip. It's going to be something like this, all the way to the corner of the mouth. And the lower lip. So it's going to be a line parallel to the lines, the horizontal lines that we have for this character already. So that's going to be kind of like the line, the straight line that we have right here. And then it is going to go back up and touch at the corner of the mouth. So now we have a couple perspective issues with this mouth. So it's a good start. But as we can see here, if we look at it from the side here, there is a lot of overlapping going on. So we have the upper lip break here, creating a some sort of perspective, and then we have this portion of the lip down here in front of this other portion back here, which is in front of the corner of the mouth already. So we have a lot of overlapping going on, so we need to apply that again in here as well. So we're gonna have the upper lip portion, and then the upper lip is going to go behind that where it ends, like that. And then we still have the corner of the mouth to add in here that's going to go behind all of that. So now it's a little bit more accurate. So I'm going to erase all the stuff here. So I know that right about here I'm going to have the pillars for the mouth. So I can leave those in here. And the corner of the mouth, I'm going to go down like we've seen before. Okay, and now what would help in here is to add the same kind of shadows same kind of shadow treatment that we did on here. So I'm going to shade this whole thing here. That would be a pretty accurate mouth. So maybe we want to make that upper lip a little bit thinner in this case. Something like that might look a little bit better. And that is how you draw a mouth. So there's a couple things here that we haven't really looked at. So what happens when we're looking at a mouth from the top of the head or from underneath? So the same will apply. So the sphere here will kind of make sure that we always include that curve of the lips. So if we're looking at a mouth, let's say from the top view, so all I'm going to draw right now is kind of like this sphere right here. And then we'll draw the mouth on a, let's say a sphere that's pointing down. So that line right here that I'm drawing right now, this is going to be the opening of the mouth. So I'm looking down on the mouth. So we're going to do essentially the same thing. So I'm going to create the little V right here. So I'm going to have the corner of the mouth right there. As you can see, I'm getting that nice curve. And that's going to go up to the nose. The nose is not there, but we can just imagine it. And now we'll have the lower lip following the curve for the sphere, and then have them come back and connect to the corner of the mouth, just like that. And we're going to do the same thing with the top of the mouth. So have the corners right here, and the corner of the filter, and go down and connect to the side of the mouth, to the corner of the mouth. There we go. So we would have a mouth in proper perspective. So now we can add a little bit of shading here for the upper lip, like we've been doing so far. And then next, I know that at the bottom of the sphere right there, this is also where kind of like the pillar is going to attach itself. So I'm going to go a little bit lower, maybe like this on both sides, to give a little bit of room for the pillars to exist. And then maybe fade in the lower lip. And again, we want to represent that little curve right there. And in this case, you know, from the front, it seems like it's pointing down, but really what it's doing is actually pointing forward a little bit. So it's going to be, so there we go. So with that simple sphere, we're able to draw mouth in perspective. So that would be a top view. So we'd have kind of like the nose, maybe like this, with the nostrils right there, and the eyes right here looking down. So again, just make sure that you draw your sphere properly. Just make sure that you find the center of your sphere, you know, based on the sphere for the head that you created. You know, that sphere is always going to be lined up with the sphere for the head and with the ovals that you created for the sides of the head as well. So this is kind of how you find the center for this. And this is also how you find the horizontal split, so to be able to draw the opening of the mouth. And there you go. So with a simple sphere like this, it should allow you to draw mouth in pretty much any angle, any perspective.